beautiful. This is a really fantastic example. Actually, goodness me, she is just such a master with her vocal text. Look at this still. Look at this still. This is a beautiful example of, hopefully that makes sense. Honestly, kia ora and welcome. My name's Stylistic and I'm your vocal coach for today because we have the absolute pleasure of taking a look at FAOUZIA with Unethical live. We took a look at Mafra's version and I'm so excited to see what FAOUZIA is up to with her vocal technique. How is she creating these sounds and how on earth can you create them? So if you want to learn more from your favorite artists and how they move these beautiful voices, hit the subscribe button so that we can geek out together. Let's just get straight to FAOUZIA with Unethical. Adding some more light in here though.
In your arms, 1 second you hate me, then it's false alarm. That's just what you always do every time. Watch me when I break and say it's paradise. Set my body aflame.
Goodness me, she is just such a master with her vocal text. We go ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. So when we're going lower in the range, we're wanting to make sure that we don't take the larynx with us every time. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. If we take the larynx with us, we're going to over lower a lot of the time. Ba-da-dum, da-da-dum. And it's going to end up sounding like we're singing in two different voices. So we leave the larynx in the higher position. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum. And that means that we don't splat land on those lower notes. Let's just listen to that again, because it's almost, I like to think about it as like a butterfly coming down. She's just gently touching on butterfly. She's got butterflies on it. Just gently touching those bottom notes.
Vertigo in your arms. 1 second you hate me, then it's false alarm. That's just what you always do every time. Watch me when I break and say it's paradise.
And so we notice on the do, ba-da-do-do, there was like a little bit of a wiggle. Now what happens with a closed vowel, so that's E or oo, and even or actually, where the mouth is more closed, it's considered a closed vowel. Those actually thin out the vocal folds a little bit. So when we go lower and we allow the vocal folds to thin out with the vowel, that's what ends up happening. We get lighter contact. So it sort of sounds like that she's missed the note, but she didn't actually miss the note at all. It's just that she over thinned the vocal folds. We need to keep the vocal folds thick even when we're going like do. Make sure we're keeping that sensation of the contact. Let's go that again.
Then it's false alarm. That's just what you always do every time. Watch me when I break and say it's paradise.
And then she corrected, say paradise. It's a lot easier on an open vowel to take that chest voice lower. I mean, it's sort of like, it's quite a thin sound actually. I would say it's almost like a chest voice feeling. Ba-da-dum, paradise. It's a very thin chest voice in this moment, but those open vowels are a lot easier for us because they don't have that same thinning effect.
Watch me when I break and say it's paradise. Set my body aflame. Lock me up and close the door when it rains. Maybe it's my fault I put you up so high. Darling, I think you could make the devil cry. And I've been waiting for the sunset, waiting on a song, but you never.
So we've got a really similar, so I'm sort of seeing this as like part 1, verse 1, part 2, verse 2. Very ba-da, ba-da, bum, ba-da-dum. So actually down on the middle C. actually quite low in the female chest voice register. So when we're going in with those slightly thinner vocal folds, that can sometimes want us to push a little bit more air. Obviously, FAOUZIA is a professional singer, so that's what she's not doing. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. With that breathy sound lower down in the range, she's just opening the vocal folds rather than pressing that air out, sort of allowing the breath to come out with low volume.
Vertigo in your arms. 1 second you hate me, then it's false alarm. That's just what you always do every time. Watch me when I break and say it's paradise. Set my body aflame. Lock me up and close the door when it rains. Maybe it's my fault I put you up so high. Darling, I think you could make the devil cry.
And she's just gently warming up that side. You could make the devil cry. Now the vibrato is coming through the increase in thyroid tilt. So the thyroid is here where the vocal folds live. The thyroid cartilage, when it tilts forward, elongates the vocal folds, so it does thin them out a little. You could make the devil cry. We would call that sweetening up the tone in singing. So we when we're adding in vibrato, we tend to, especially in this style of music, you ba-da-bum, ba-da-dum, just very slightly at the end of the phrase, increasing that thyroid tilt. Because if we would add in thyroid tilt throughout the entire phrase, honestly, it would overpower the singing and vibrato, or overpower the lyric, and vibrato makes us think about pretty singing.
You can make the devil cry. And I've been waiting for the sunset, waiting on a sorry, but you're never sorry, are you? No, you don't even care. Can you stand a one?
So we're going to go back on that. I've been waiting on a sunset, waiting on a sorry, but you're never sorry, are you? So what she's done there, she's coming from that thicker vocal fold contact, loads of thyroid tilt to go up into a breathy or even a falsetto. So, but you're never sorry, but I'm by you. Now what's happening there is she's allowing the sound to feel inconsistent as she's going up the range. And that's what we must have, an inconsistent feeling of the sound. Let's watch that again.
Put you up so high. Darling, I think you can make the devil cry. And I've been waiting for the sunset, waiting on a sorry, but you're never sorry, are you? No, you don't.
And we're not seeing a lot of volume change here as well going on. So acoustically, we're hearing a slight volume change, but she's not having to move away from the microphone, which is telling us she's just beefed up the vocal fold contact. But you're never sorry, are you? Now, higher notes will sound louder than lower notes, mostly. And if we're adding in breath, but you're never sorry, are you? That tends to also make the sound a little bit louder. We'll go back on this. I quite like her use of breath, actually.
But you're never sorry, are you? No, you don't even care. Can you stand a watch while I'm breaking all my bones, trying to hold you close? Come on right out my body.
Okay, we've got the vowel modification going on. Come right out my body, round body. Again, this is very accent dependent. It doesn't really matter if you modify the vowel there. That's just a decision that needs to be made. And some singing styles, like musical theatre, for example, that wouldn't be so allowed to, even English, like we have less of an ability to modify the vowel because people still need to be able to understand largely what we're saying. But in pop music, like FAOUZIA is just singing, but we can modify the vowel. I lost the melody there for a second. Let's just watch that.
And I've been waiting for the sunset, waiting on a sorry, but you're never sorry, are you? No, you don't even.
Beautiful. This is a really fantastic example. Actually, I used this in a masterclass that I did inside the Vocal Academy, my online singing school yesterday. I used exactly this performance to show the difference with the mouth position and the tongue position in the low part of the range versus the higher notes that we're going to get at the end of the song. So we're seeing here loads of economy going on, but you're never sorry, are you? This isn't in a loud part of FAOUZIA's range, and the perception of effort is quite low. But we can see there she's got great posture, she's got the shoulders back and down, she's got the high chest, and it is years of training that is allowing her to use this much economy within the mouth position. What we've got here though, but you're never sorry. Oh no, when she's going from the low to the high, sorry, I've lost the melody actually because I got started on the mouth position. What she's doing here is using the thicker vocal folds and then going up to a breathy sound again.
Can you stand a watch while I'm breaking all my bones, trying to hold you close?
We need to go back on that section again, because when we're listening to this pre-chorus, you're noticing that she's adding in. It's just, I don't know the song well enough, so I can't like sing it to you the way that I actually don't know the song really at all, except the version that I watched with Mafra.
Maybe it's my fault I put you up so high, darling. I think you can make the devil cry. And I've been waiting for the sunset, waiting on a sorry, but you're never sorry.
We're on the D, so we've got the D4 there, which is like low. It's sort of like in that mid part of the female chest voice, right? So I've been waiting on a sunset, waiting on a sorry, but you're never sorry, are you? So she hasn't gone in with loads of weight into that lower chest voice, which is what a lot of singers want to do. And this is what I'm talking about with this, the whole tongue position thing. We can't really see what's going on, but she's got a high back of the tongue so we can hear everything that she's saying. Loose front part of the tongue so we're hearing the articulation, but she's not over thickening and over driving those lower notes.
No, you don't even care. Can you stand a watch while I'm...
And then she's just thinking, can you still watch while I... And she's added in the vocal for... So she's going the E4 to the F4, while I, instead of going while I, and dropping the larynx and over lowering. And I'm not saying that someone like FAOUZIA would do that, yeah, but what often happens when singers in the studio trying to get color or trying to get more resonance or power in those lower sections, they will tend to push the larynx down, over lower, and overdrive the vocal fold contact. We want to let the body do the least amount of work to get the maximum amount of sound out. So thickening up the vocal folds increases that subglottic pressure. And we go, while I, instead of while I, which would sort of tend to give us a sort of woofy feeling, and also often cause strain down the lower range. I'm not saying that's what FAOUZIA is doing. It's just, I know what you're going to do when you're going to go and sing this song. You can do what like all of my singing students do. I've been teaching singing for 18 years. I've heard a lot of people try and go from high to low, and this is what sort of ends up tending to happen.
Can you stand a watch while I'm breaking all my bones, trying to hold you close? Come on right out my body, tearing off my skin just to let you in. Isn't it a bit unethical? Throw me on my knees, have you any mercy every time you hurt me, baby?
This is a beautiful example of like what I was saying before about unequal vocalization, or this perception of the feeling creating an even sound. She's got shitloads of thyroid tilt in there. We've got a thinning of the vocal folds. We've gone into the higher part of the range, almost into what we could call slightly more classical setting. Got me on my knees, why'd you beg and please, ba-ba-da-ba-da, my body. So we got ba-da-da-ba-da. So that is in the head voice, ba-da-da-da-da. And she's allowing that natural click that ends up happening if we don't control the movement from the head voice down to the chest voice. That's something that can end up happening in order to go from a thyroid tilt, or like lots of thyroid tilt, into more of a vertical larynx position coming down the range. Allows us to get more vocal fold contact done.
Isn't it a bit unethical? Throw me on my knees, have you any mercy every time you hurt me, baby? Tell me I'm not giving.
And this is what a lot of singers don't want to do. They don't want to make these changes. So it feels up here, head voicey, and then my body, thicker vocal cord. So we've got those changes going on. That's actually something I'm going to be teaching you inside my very first live masterclass series outside of the Vocal Academy. It's going to be the last one I'm running this year actually as well. So you can sign up using the link in the description below. We are going to be going over how can you get more resonance in this lower section of the range and how can you transition up into that head voice. I would love to see you there. It's going to be online with me and I'm going to coach you personally in this workshop. And we're going to be working on exactly like the things in this video. Cool. I mean, not only is it just absolutely, what a fantastic opportunity, like with an orchestra and like, I would just like love that to be standing there and have those fantastic musicians around you. I mean, we know FAOUZIA, right? She's just incredible as a musician. So we've got, again, same sort of thing happening in the end of that. But now we're going into the second verse. Ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. We're looking to get a little bit more vocal fold contact. We're wanting to allow everything to go back down into a different feeling. Okay, so in the second verse here, we didn't have that quite as much vocal fold contact when we were coming down, or when she was coming down. So let's just go over, am I in the right section? Maybe it's my fault, can't walk away. Maybe I just like feel a little shame. Oh, I've been waiting. Maybe she wanted a slightly like, maybe I feel a little shame. So we need to allow that adjustment to have those vocal folds come back down into that thicker position. Sometimes this is going to feel odd because if we've gone really, really high and we come lower in the range, we need to then readjust for that different position. And so that's going to be about going, okay, woo, that's up here with that feeling, and then that's down here in this feeling, and going, call me on my knees, and then so in this section we're not hearing quite as much resonance on those lower notes, and that's just telling me that there's not quite the same level of vocal folds thickness coming into the second verse. Hopefully that makes sense. Honestly, a lot of these sounds, in singing lessons, I get a lot of comments with like people who've never had singing lessons before being like, what on earth are we doing? And a lot of the stuff that we make sounds in singing lessons that are just honestly a bit odd. So for me, this all seems very normal, but like, let me know if that made no sense to you whatsoever. So that I can then make changes to the way I describe things. I feel a little shame. Oh, I've been waiting for the sunset, and honestly, so we've got what have we got? And I've been. Lots of singers coming. I mean, look, she just sang that, right? Absolutely perfectly. Lots of singers come into the studio and they do not sing these riffs. Bye-bye. So I want you to really focus on, I've been, and break it down for yourself. Sing it slowly. She's in a thin vocal fold there because thinner vocal folds allow greater movement of the vocal folds. We don't ever riff in belts, for example, right? She's not belting there. It's a quiet sound. Oh, I've been, but practice it slowly, please. You never saw me, or you know, you don't even care. Can you say Oh my goodness me. So this song is just fantastic. Well, listen to these lyrics. Actually, I'm reading the lyrics along with the video, actually. I have to be honest. Whenever there's a subtitle, I'll read along. So one thing to note about this song and why it might not work in other people's voices is because FAOUZIA, firstly, she wrote the song. And when we are writing songs, we write them that fit for the parts of the voice that fit best in our voices. Otherwise, it'd be honestly very weird. So what she's written is got me on my knees. Where are we? So we're up on the D5, which is the D above middle C. That's the D4 just above middle C. That's the D5. So got me on my knees. It's actually not very big. It's not a very massive change. And she's already changed into the thicker vocal folds. So, got me on my knees, got me begging please, my body. So you need to make sure that those higher notes are sitting in your head voice part of your register, and that the lower notes are sitting in your more chest voice register. Got me on my knees, please, my body. And that's going to be different for everybody. You might need to take the song down a little bit. I mean, the verses are going to be low then, but it has to fit so that you've got that flip going on. Otherwise, you're just going to be like this. And did you hear that? Got me on my knees. She hit that in head voice. And the other one, she's going, got me on my knees. Got me begging, please. Again, both are correct. I mean, look, FAOUZIA can sing her own fucking song however she wants, right? But it is just really about creating that inconsistent feel and that inconsistent... it feels like the sound is inconsistent, but it's not, right? We're listening to it and we're like, oh, that's so beautiful. But... it will feel inconsistent within the voice. And so whether you go, got me on my knees, it's going to sound a little bit more classical as opposed to, got me on my knees, where we're just thickening up the vocal folds. Both are correct. Both are just an artistic decision to make.
Every time you hurt me, baby, tell me if I'm not giving you enough. If you ever love me, let me go. Let me go. I'll let you go.
I love that change. So, let me go. We're on the D, the B flat there. So right slap bang, great belt line. Let me go, let me go. So she's just tilted the cricoid there. The cricoid cartilage is underneath. So we've got the thyroid cartilage and we've got the cricoid cartilage sitting underneath it. When it tips back, we actually get a thicker than thick contact of the vocal folds, and that is belt. That's what we need to occur for belting. You can just watch that again. You can really hear the acoustic change going on. There we go. So she's now she's around in the slipstream of about let you go. And it's really about making sure that we're going through those vowels. Let you go, which the ooh can often trips me up. Yeah. So I would say to go medializing all through. Let you go. So that we're rolling the tongue forward through that belt section. They're keeping the cricoid tilted. So we've got belt there, high tongue position. Look at this still. Look at this still. High tongue position at the back, forward placement of the front part of the tongue. Now that doesn't always work for every tongue length, okay? This is also dependent on where you are in your own range and how long your tongue root is, okay? That sounds very odd, I know, but the difference in the tongue root length will determine how far your tongue needs to come forward in order to assist the raising of the, well, not that high. Let me go, oh, let me go, whoa. She's on the D there. So when we're up there, you notice that she pulled her head back, oh, let me go, whoa. Okay, and when she's pulling up through the back, imagining the chest coming forward, we're engaging those back muscles in order to stabilize these smaller muscles of the neck. We're not seeing heaps of effort going on here, although her dress is quite high. So we saw her, oh, let me go, whoa. Okay, belting again on pretty much this whole section. We've got more of a trumpet shape there, which is assisting in that belt mouth posture. But it's relatively, I mean, look, we've got more of an open trumpet shape, but she's got a very chill jaw here. That's what we want, but we want the back of the tongue to be high. I think she's on the C5 there. So go! And she just tilted the cricoid through that belt to bring on that vibrato. Again, vibrato needs to, look, everybody has different ideas about vibrato and different feelings and sort of like amounts of vibrato that they like to hear in singing. I like to say that vibrato is a coloring technique, and we can use it at the end of phrase, but we don't want to hear, let me go, you know, it'd be like too much, right? You would think that I'm sort of either a sheep or that I'm in some sort of opera. So we go, let me go, oh, let me go. And that cry that she's got there again helps with the emotion of the song as well.
And I've been waiting for the sunset, and on a sorry, you're never sorry, are you? No, you don't even care. Can you stand a while?
She was going to lay belt that for us there, FAOUZIA. But again, she wrote the song. She can do whatever she wants, especially if we're going into that belt. So we've got this, waiting on a sorry, but you're never sorry, are you? She's breathing in almost quite loud there, actually, but it's almost for dramatic effect in this moment. When we hear the in-breath, you can sometimes hear mine. That was due to my tongue tie, which I am trying to relearn. But after like 38 years of breathing like this, it's taking me a while to get out of the habit of breathing in with so much volume. That's a tightening of the inside of the throat. That's why we don't necessarily want it. But for an emotional point to make in the song, it works perfectly.
You're never sorry, are you? No, you don't even care. Can you stand a while?
And then we knew she was in thin vocal folds, because when we're in a falsetto, you know, that would have been harder it would have been a slightly less pretty transition, I would have said, but we are, I don't know what she ended up on, yeah, but she's thick in the vocal folds as she's coming. Actually moving through those notes assists in the thickening of the vocal folds. It makes it a little bit easier, yeah? This is interesting, actually. I feel like this is now this is an audio engineer's kind of point. You know, they needed to ramp up her microphone there a little bit, because there comes a point as well where like we reach our maximum volume. And I feel like this is what's happening. The orchestras come in, the emotional importance and the emotions of the song are being ramped up by the orchestra, not by the volume in the voice at this point, which is perfectly fine. Because honestly, at some point, she can't get any louder. So they've now become, to be honest, I think in the mix, a little bit too loud for her singing. So her singing needs to be boosted in that moment. And that's what the audio engineer needs to do. And then with the E, got me on my knees. She's gone down there. Now, E doesn't need to be sung in a head voice quality or in a thinner vocal fold, but the E vowel does thin the vocal fold. So we need to keep the thickness as we're going down there. It was just a little bit of a waver there. And look, not poo-pooing FAOUZIA. She's the most amazing singer. I just wanted to point out, this actually happened to me earlier today in my own singing lesson. This is what I've been working on. This is challenging for us to not allow the tightening at the back of the throat, tightening at the back of the tongue for the E, and the thinning of the vocal folds. So in this sort of moment, when you are also, I feel like she's also being like kind of rushed, you can hear she's sort of like every now and again leaving out the first word of some of those sentences as well. Absolutely fantastic. What a beautiful performance. We also saw there, as I said, I felt like she almost felt a little bit rushed in that moment, but you could see, got me on my knees, put me back, please. She was putting more effort into the emotion of the song. And that's another really beautiful thing that we can do. We can increase the emotional response within our audience by either bringing in more of the music in the background, or we can act more emotional and sort of then she goes, got me on my knees, put me back, please, and sort of almost like breathing in a hurried kind of way. And that is going to give the illusion that something has changed within the voice, but it hasn't actually. The stakes have raised in the way that she's delivering the sound and in the music. So beautiful. Like, this is a masterclass. As I said, I use this inside the Vocal Academy masterclass to show the way that the jaw position was being used there in the tongue position. And I did already comment on that, but we saw great economy of the movement. And ultimately, we do really want to have a relaxed jaw, because when we do not relax the jaw, there's a muscle that goes from the jaw joint, it's called, I think, the styloglossus, goes from the jaw joint into the tongue. And what happens is when we have that top part of the tongue being tense, we lose the flexibility within the tongue. We do want tongue tension. We do not want a relaxed tongue, but we want the back of the tongue to be high and turned on and the front of the tongue to be flexible and malleable for the articulation. And that's exactly what we just saw there. High back tongue, relaxed jaw, assisting in that forward movement of the tongue. And that's something that we do learn in singing lessons, about how to separate the different parts of the tongue out. It's not like we go like, okay, from here, you're going to be moving it like this. What we do is it's about the sensations and about doing exercises in order to separate the movement of the back of the tongue from, think about it, it's a little bit like doing this. Yeah. It's separating the movement of the back of the tongue from the front of the tongue. But if you're looking for singing lessons and you're like, Zoe, I would really like to learn how to do that. I want to learn how to belt high and I want to learn about these techniques and how I can apply them to my own voice, then you can apply for singing lessons using the link in the description below, because this sort of vocal technique is very specific, and it requires one-to-one lessons. And that's exactly right. My online singing school, the Vocal Academy, is the only singing school out there that offers a hybrid approach of group lessons, group practices as well. So you can practice and learn from other singers, as well as one-to-one singing lessons. So you can sign up for in the description below. Wow, FAOUZIA. Holy shit. That was a really long one, but I'm really excited that we got to have a look at it, because there's so much to learn from a singer like FAOUZIA, and the beautiful economy that everything that she's doing, that's something that we can really, really learn from there. So check out some more FAOUZIA up here to continue your learning journey. And just remember, everyone can learn to sing. These are still muscles, and you can start at any time, and that's what I'm here to help you to do. So I'd love to see you around. Happy singing, happy practicing, and ka kite anō.